And now I'm going to go into my import process, okay? So let me make sure that I don't have any custom fields. So notice that this section called custom fields is empty. I created a custom field called date of birth and client ID. So once I do the upload, they will actually show up on here, and you should be able to look at them, manipulate them a little bit once they are imported. So I'll show you how that looks like. I'm going to click on import. I'm going to browse for that file. And I believe this is the one that we just did now. So if you take a look at the numbers at the top, there's a few steps that we need to take. We're going to map the account. So I'm going to tell TaxDome that I have an account column. It automatically detected it for me, so that's why it's filled. What account type? Well, since I have mixed individuals and businesses in one sheet, I actually have this column dedicated, right? So I'm going to tell TaxDome that I have a column for it. Otherwise, if your sheet is only individuals, you can just select individuals. But in this case, I have a column called account type, and it previews what the answer should be. So if this shows up as a phone number or something, that's when you know something's wrong, right? But everything looks good here. And map account fields. So notice again at the top, and I'm going to make this zoom in a little bit more. At the top it says map accounts, and step 4 it says map contacts. So those are two different things. Remember, Katie mentioned that earlier. Our contact is the entity, the name of the business, or the name of, you know, whoever is the account holder, but not necessarily personal data just yet. The contacts are, you know, the individual information like date of birth, social security number, first and last name. So let's take a look at the accounts information. The reason why you see these here as ignore is because we really do want to ignore these because they're not part of the individual information yet. So what I really want to bring into the account is any tags, right? Any tags and maybe client information that I require. So a client ID does pertain to my account, so I'm going to synchronize that. It doesn't exist in TaxDome, so I'm going to create it. I'm going to create any field and call it client ID number. You might have that as well for your clients. It might be just a number. In my case, I'll leave it as text. It can be mixed text and numbers together. I'm going to hit save. So that's mapped. I'm going to be able to see that when I open an account. What else do I want to bring over? Well, I might want to bring over some notes, right? The notes might be important to bring over. And since I don't, that doesn't really exist in this section, I'm going to create it. And tags are automatically synced because TaxDome recognizes this name of this column, okay? And that's automatically going to be mapped. And state, city, and zip code. This is for my personal information for my individual persons. So I'm not going to map this to the account yet. Now, if I have a company address, company name, I will map this, okay? So I'm going to pause here and kind of check if there's any questions on this. I don't want to rush this for anybody. I just want to make sure that there is a good understanding about this. So I'll give everybody a second. If there's no questions, then I'll move on. Again, there might be always some confusion like, why is the address here different from this? Well, again, if it's a company, this section would apply. And I do have, remember, I have two companies. So I do want to make sure that they're check marked. Sometimes if you do, if you don't spell this out right, like if you don't say company state/province, if you have company state, this probably will show up like this. All you have to do is synchronize it and just look for it. Like if I type in state, there it is, state and province. That's how you map the column with what Taxdome recognizes. So when you do this drop down, these are the columns that Taxdome does recognize already. They're predetermined. They are the titles of your columns. Now I'm going to hit continue because I'm
It looks
already
like
done.
it looks like we've got some questions on here.
Okay, let's see.
Oh.
So the client ID is something that I created because I use it with my clients, but you can you can create columns and custom fields about whatever you'd like. For example, the date of birth, Taxum doesn't really have that as a default. So I'm going to create it in this section. So we'll see how I create a date of birth field in the fourth step, but that's a really good question. Client ID is, I just made it up. You can have client ID number. You can have the, um, the the amount of money that they paid last year. You can type in last year's fee, right? If that's something that you want and is important to you, and then just fill it out in the CSV file. There's a lot of functional ways you can use these customized fields. All right, so let's go ahead and go to the
How
next
does this
section.
work when there's one personal plus 20 business entities for the same client?
Just like I showcased earlier. So for example, if there is, I'm going to pretend like these are all businesses, right? Let's pretend like these are all businesses, and Homer Simpson is the owner of all of these. So pretty much what you would do is make sure that he is part of all of these. That's how easy it is. So if Homer Simpson owns like all of these 20 businesses, his contact would be repeated all along so that he can use this one email to log into all of the entities. Once he logs in, Taxum's going to say, you have these, 6 businesses you want to log into. Which one do you want to log into, right? So that way they can be kept separate as entities, have their own folders, but there's only one person that accesses them all. So hopefully that answers your question. Coming back into the import process, this settings section is important to manage. So really, as like a common practice, we want to make sure that these toggles are on. This kind of makes it possible for Taxdome to pretend like we sent an invite. And you can send an invitation if you'd like, but we're not ready to do that just yet. We just want to make sure that the toggles are on so that our emails start synchronizing, so we can still start seeing emails being exchanged. If we happen to send something to the client, we want to get for them to get notified, and we want them to be able to log in, right? But they won't get notified or anything just yet. Don't worry about that. The tag section, we already had a tags column. That tags column is already ready to go. But if you want to add tag on top of all of those, like something like, I don't know, we'll do May import. There you go. I can do that just so I know which ones I imported today, and maybe later on I can delete this particular tag. Not a big deal. You can add and delete tags whenever you'd like. And assignees, this is where you want to add all of the team members that should have access to these accounts, so it should have visibility on them. And then the
Hey,
folder structure.
Fabiola, it
Yes.
does look like we were able to fix the macro spreadsheet, so everybody should be able to download it now.
Oh, perfect. We're going to pop up here, do another pop-up. Just in case you didn't see it, you can see it.
And again, it's under the offers, not handouts.
Perfect. All right, so coming back into this section, the folder, we'll talk about the folder structure a little bit later on, but it is important to set a folder structure before importing. Okay, that's really, really important. I'm going to get into that in a little bit, just so you know what I'm talking about. But you want to make sure this is selected before or determined before you import. And right now, I'll do the default tax years that TaxDome generates for us. It's a couple of folders with a couple of years in them, just for reference, and I'll show you how to manipulate that a little bit later. So I'm going to hit continue. Now, finally, we are in our contact section, right? Now I can map my first and last name, date of birth, things like that. So do I want to map an account name? No, because I already did that in the first step. Do I want to map a contact name? Yes, it's already predetermined because TaxDome detected that I have a column called account name or contact name. TaxDome also detected that I have a first name column, so it automatically mapped it to what TaxDome recognizes as a first name. Again, if you have something like first, and that's the only word you have, it's going to show up like this. And all you got to do is click on synchronize and look for the first name, and that's all you have to do. So don't get confused about why it's not green, right? So when it's green, it's the information, that's the information that is going to be brought over into these particular fields. And if they don't exist, we'll create them. So for example, this is the perfect example. I have phone here, but TaxDome doesn't recognize the word phone. So if I click on sync and if I look for it, TaxDome has phone number. And all you have to do is synchronize it until it turns green. Date of birth doesn't exist in the general TaxDome section for individuals. So I will synchronize that. And I will create a new field called DOB. And actually it should be a date, right? It should be a date format. Okay, perfect. Client ID, I will ignore that. I mapped that for the account, not the individual. Account type, I will ignore that. I already mapped that out in the beginning. Notes, I already mapped that, so I can ignore this. The notes are for the general account. I'm going to ignore tags because I don't really want to tag individual persons. I just want to make sure my accounts are tagged. If you want to tag your individuals, perfect. You should go ahead and do that. That's not going to be a problem. The more tags, the better. You can always delete them. But for now, I'm going to ignore them. And country, state, city automatically is checkmarked. Again, if you just have state, it's going to show something like this. All you have to do is look for it. I can ignore these because these are for my companies, if you remember that. I'm going to click on continue here, and it's going to give me a quick preview of what the import's going to look like. So, first name, last name, phone number, company name, that looks good. It just gives you a quick preview. Again, if these were out of order, that's where you want to be concerned, but we're good to go. I'm going to click on start import. This window, you don't want to close it because you can open up new tabs, like duplicate the tab that you have and keep working, but you don't want to manipulate this because it's going to give you a quick report of what happened. Was I able to import everything? Was there any fields that were that had errors on them? So this is where you want to consider if there's any errors. If there are errors, it's going to give you a downloadable sheet. That downloadable sheet will have the lines that were not imported. So everything was good to go. I don't have any errors, but if you did, you'd have a little button so you can download that CSV. At the right of that column of that download of erroneous lines, it's going to tell you I couldn't create this account because the email format was wrong. Maybe there was a space after the at and Gmail, right? Or, the first name was blank, something like that. It's going to give you the reasoning. You correct it and then re-import it. All right, so everything was successful. Let's go back to my accounts. I'm going to do a quick refresh. And here we go. I know that everything was successful because I have a May import, right? Those are the ones that I did just now. And I have 1040. Some of them have student loans. Some of them are in Spanish. So great. Everything was successful here, right?